What's happening, guys? Welcome back to the next vlog. I hope you enjoyed the last one where I was basically playing around with the dashboard and the interior, and obviously I showed you the basics on how we're going to make a Mercedes S-Class interior fit inside the Nissan. As I think I said on that vlog, we're going to have to put that on hold, on a little back burner for now, only because I need to source more parts. So I need the underside of the dash, I need the center console, just so I can work the position out. I don't want to cut too much off to find out, I've cut too much off. So we will leave that as it is for now, but we now have all of the materials. Sorry, there's a possible rat up there. I keep hearing him moving around. Right, so I now have all the materials to pull the mould off of this rear arch. So the first job that we're going to do, we're going to get it all cleaned up. I think you can see around me, I've actually cleaned the workshop up a bit, so we have a nice bit of space to work in while we do this. Still got to clean my bench a little bit, but we're good. So we're going to machine polish that arch because we need a real good finish. If you watch the vlog where we painted it, you'll know that we painted it with 2K black. So Happy's on his way up here, and we're going to machine polish that using G3 cutting compound and I don't know, polishing head, whatever it is. But that'll give us a nice shine, which will leave us ready to lay down the gel coat. So let's get that done, and then I'll sort of give you some step-by-step on the process of what we're going to be doing. So while he's over there machine polishing the arch, I've had to have a rethink on the cable mechanisms, because obviously you saw the sort of tube designs we were going to use with the mechanism under the seat. It turns out, after all this work, even though we extended these looms by 6 feet, they're still not long enough. So because we have to extend them further, I have decided to do something like this. So this plastic tube clips onto both of the metal pipes which I welded in. The cables will then run along inside them and exit from the center. So what this enables me to do is the cable can be fixed at this point, and then you want, when the door closes, the point of cable that's here, it will move back to this point, and the cable will become, looped up and over basically. So between this point and this point is where my mechanism has to sit that retracts and allows it to extend, and that's what I'm working on right now. So I'm going to do a few bits while he's doing what he's doing over there, and we'll come back to this and hopefully it'll make a bit more sense when I'm a little bit more progressed. Right, I'm hoping now we've got a little visual aid going on, this might be a bit more helpful. So at this point here, the wiring loom is solidly attached to the tube with a cable tie. Here we have a bolt that's got a nut on the inside, so it gives me a solid mounting point further back. Here we have 4 elastic bands. These are only temporary because ideally we'd like this to be a spring more than anything. 1 second, I need my tripod. Right, that's better. So I can now give you an actual demonstration. So you see this lump of cable that sticks up. So all the rest of this is attached to the door. So as the door opens, it's going to pull the cable out of the tube. Because as you know, this bit here is attached to the metal tube, which is welded on the inside of the chassis. So as the door opens, it will pull down the tube like so. And as the door closes, it will retract, which means we won't end up with a bunch of cable wedging up here at the door shut. Now this is only a preliminary test. Like I say, I think this will be a lot better if we do this with a spring rather than a bag full of elastic bands. But right now, the coronavirus is kind of stopping springs coming in from China. So although I've got some ordered, we're just doing test runs with this. But I'm mildly confident with this. I think it seems all right. So yeah, we'll basically, this is the prototype. And we'll find out if it works. Right guys, so as you saw, we've been machine polishing the arch with some G3. The arch is now looking nice and shiny. What we are doing now, we are applying a few layers of mould release wax. So what this is to do is so that once we lay the gel coat and lay down the layers of fiberglass, this should help the mould release quite nicely and easily from the arch. So we've done 6 layers so far. I'm probably going to bang on another 2 maybe. So we're going to get this one on, buff it off, and then we should be ready to put the gel coat down.
1, 2, 1, 2. Don't stop. I'm on fire. 1, 2, 1, 2. I love you. No. 1, 2, 1, 2. Don't stop. I'm on fire. 1, 2, 1, 2.
Right, so with the arch all buffed off, I have now mixed up my gel coat, and we're basically going to apply a nice, even, decent coverage. Not quite big.
Do you want it filmed for all of it?
Aggressive from this. Well, I'm not sure we've got enough.
I think Minda's got enough paint anyway.
Yeah, but it needs to be a complete coat that's on.
It's only D6. Can we try and get that thing out?
You can try to. It's coming loving the whole thing, are we?
This is MJ Cole and Pete's on the show on BBC Radio 1.
Yeah, it should be.
And mixing more.
Yeah.
So in the very same building for Club Paradise,
No, I'm only looking to come below the skirt line.
under after hours, my DJ of choice would be Leon Vinehall. Thanks for having
You're not doing the curve with the back.
I'm only going about as low as this, basically. If I have enough, I'll go a little bit lower, but it's not
No, I
necessary.
mean at the back of the bumper.
No, that'll be done when we do the rear, once it's been split. We're just trying to get a mould from the main arch.
Stop filming.
Yeah, that'll be fine, yeah. So there we have a gel coated arch ready. Well, one more coat of gel coat tomorrow and then we'll start putting fiberglass to it. Right then guys, so what we've done, we've put a bit of Perspex, we just happen to have laying around underneath this edge because we need, the fiberglass can't flap under, because if it flaps under we won't be able to pull the mould off. So this is all just to give us the mould so it only sits on this. I've cut some random ass pieces of fiberglass, so I'm now going to knock up my resin and we're going to start throwing the first layer down.
I love you. No. 1, 2, 1, 2. Don't stop. I'm on fire. 1, 2, 1, 2. I love you. One, two, three, no.
Okay, so here we have 3 layers on top of 300 GSM weight fiberglass. So that is now sat on top of 2 layers of gel coat. We're just going to let this go off and then we're going to bang down another 2 or 3 layers of 450 GSM. And fingers crossed, we'll let that harden and it should pop off and reveal a mould. Right, okay guys, so we've done 3 more layers over the top of 450 GSM fiberglass. This thing is now rock solid. We've let it go off for a couple of days and well, I've never tried anything like this, so this is all new to us as well. What I'm going to attempt to do, I've cut I've cut some small wooden wedges, and my plan is to sort of get them in here behind the fiberglass and tap them down, work my way around the panel and hope that it comes off and we have a nice mould. So let's get to it, let's see what happens. Yes, that made me jump. I'm obviously very nervous. Okay, but that does seem to have popped it nicely. So hopefully you can see what I'm doing. I'm using these wedges. I've just been working my way along, and as it's generally popping by itself, we're trying to not damage the arch underneath, and we're trying to put a nice clean mould. Let me just move you guys around. The reason I'm so nervous, if any of you who've been following my build on Instagram will know, we've basically been building this arch since, I don't know, December time, and obviously it's now March, so I'm trying to be cautious, but at the same time I'm trying to get it off. hope you saw that. Right, I'm going to put this over there and we'll come and have a look at it. Okay, so the rear of the arch is pretty much intact. We'll need to clean this all off because obviously we need to cut this across this line and then we need to take a separate mould for this section. Now, the arch is cracked here. Now, I don't know whether the heat caused this or me popping the mould caused this, but it's not too much of a problem. Everything, yeah. So if I clean all this off, which should come off, hopefully, even if we have to use wet and dry. Because we're going to cut this at this point, because that is where the side skirt cut is. So yeah, so all this comes off, look. Everything under here seems intact. Now, what do we have? Okay, so obviously, as we know, just gonna so it feels pretty solid. We do have a solid swage line, it seems, all the way. So obviously this is the line from the chassis to the panel. So that's good. The fact we have that definition. Again, I'm pretty sure let me just bring you in. So, where that line is then, so that's where we had our perspex. Now, this line here, this is the chassis line, because obviously this is where we folded up the chassis. So, this is good, I think. I think this is good. Down here, so now if you look at this, obviously we're missing a bit of gel coat over here, but I've got a good feeling, see where this the fiberglass has come past the gel. I've got a feeling that's just simply where my perspex wasn't pushed up, because you know, there's no reason why the gel line isn't where the arch is supposed to be. But we can always create a panel out of this now. That was the door. But this line here, this is what we needed. So we have a panel line. So if we now gel coat this and we pick up on this detail, the panel will have that detail. So the panel that comes out needs to have, you know, needs to form like this, and obviously be flat to go against the car. I just need to check this edge and we'll go from there. Yeah, so as you can see, the gel coat is still here. Okay, so because the gel coat's still inside that arch, but that should be fine because this is going to be made out of metal anyway. But hopefully this was a successful mould. Time will tell. Right then guys, so I'm going to bring this vlog to an end now because effectively I've shown you how we've pulled this mould off of the car. So to give you a quick run through it, so obviously we built the arch, we painted the arch, and we flat and polished it. Next up was gel coat, and then we began with our layers of fiberglass matting, which we then managed to successfully release from the car, which has given us this mould. What I've done is I've kind of trimmed all the edges back and I've sanded them down to make them nice and smooth. So I'm now going to apply gel coat to the areas where it's raw fiberglass, because I need to sand and prep them areas so that that becomes a finish like the rest of the panel, so that when we attempt to pull a panel out of this mould, it doesn't stick to that fiberglass. So I'm going to get this prepped, and hopefully you guys will come back for the next vlog to see us pull this panel out and, well, cut that off the car and see if our panel fits. So yeah, hope you're enjoying it. See you soon.